Of the CC Zone. I'm Brankles, and I am joined by Densoft and Silver. Thanks, guys, for joining me.
Hello.
Hi, this is gonna be a great time.
And great time it is. We are going to be breaking down, just the CCS season as a whole, talking about a little bit of the pro scene as well. But I first want to ask you guys, how do you guys feel about the first ever season for the CCS?
I
Um,
thought I
good.
thought it was definitely rocky in the beginning, especially on the production side. The meme of CCS stream of being at a 2003 Microsoft PowerPoint quality was certainly prevalent, but as time went on, I thought the stream got to an acceptable level. I thought our casting was always good though, and we got people to fix it, but I think at the end it turned out rather well.
Yeah. What Silver said for the most part, like we had some difficulties with the streaming early, but once we got the right people on board, the season went really smooth after that.
And for me, I came in halfway through the season as part of the content, and it was really cool to see things start to progress. As you guys were saying, you see the production value go up. It was really nice to see that we had the podcast, we had the analyst desk, and the games. I mean, for the most part, looked pretty nice. Pretty good. Uh, for you guys, being a part of the CCS and its first ever season, what's something that you guys are going to take away from the first season as you guys head into the second one?
We always need to keep production top notch. That's something we struggled with early on, as we stated before. But like, people want to watch the games and not PowerPoint.
Yeah, I think it's just really about always not willing to settle for anything and always looking to improve. Because even though I thought we had came to a point where I thought we did pretty well, we can still improve. Like I know, like ideally, I'd like to do more content next season. Stream on more off days if possible. Just things like that to improve the overall quality and engagement we can get from the league.
And for you guys, personally for me, I got to see what the amateur scene looks like. Growing the past, I'd say 8 years watching professional League of Legends, got to watch that grow. But being able to see it from the amateur scene was pretty cool. So for you guys, what's it mean to know that you guys were, ingrained in the fabric of an amateur league and actually got to play its season out? It didn't fold it halfway through and everyone's like, oh, screw it, we give up. You guys got to see it go from regular season to postseason to crowning a champion.
Yeah, I mean, l- it feels awesome being able to bring something like this to people who aren't at the same skill level as like the pros are. So when we can do that, it feels personally really good to me. And then, just seeing where we can move from here, just I get really excited thinking about it.
Yeah, similar sentiments. I just really like being able to provide, a place for people to really, I guess, sort of get the pro experience. Obviously it's not one for one, but these players play in games that matter to them, and they play on stream in front of audiences, and some of them come on an desks or podcasts to get interviewed. They get a lot of experience for what it would be like to be a pro when they not may not now or ever have the ability to do so. So I think it's just really cool providing experience, and hopefully we can expand on it more in the future to really make it even more like it would be like playing in the LCS at a lower level.
And with a startup program, you guys, you'll see bumps along the road. As you guys mentioned early on, production was not to the standard you guys were looking at 2003 MS Paint PowerPoints. But how did you guys, as a staff, as a organization, bounce back from having one of the teams drop out of the league and still be able to regroup and say, hey, you know what, it sucks that happened, but you guys were able to regroup and rebound?
Yeah, I think that's a really big shout out to the other 9 teams that participate in this split this year, because like no one likes a team dropping out ever because that just gives the team who played them, in this case, free wins, or then we have to scramble for a team to come in, you know, sometime throughout the split. Luckily for us, it ended up being Arcanist. They weren't a good team at all, honestly, and the last games didn't really impact the standings too much, so we were able to just award the teams who played them a win because I believe one of them was Collective, who were going to win anyways, and then we could just move on from that. We didn't have to scramble and find a different team, and I thank the teams for being understanding in that.
Yeah, like Silver said, it's really great when you have understanding captains and points of contact. Like having a shakeup like that isn't necessarily the easiest, but yeah, I mean they were a bottom team, so it's not too crazy. And it's also helpful when you have a really like on their toes staff. Like Flay, all memes aside, Flay's a great owner. Like he has really great ideas, and like it gets the best out of his employees because he listens to them. So I mean, when you have that awesome combination that we have going, that we had going at that point, things usually work out for the better.
And I'll start with you on this one, Silver. 5 years ago, what would you have told yourself, knowing that, man, you're part of an amateur league, and not just, you're not a player in amateur league, you're one of the staff members, one of the people that are helping this run smoothly as much as it can.
5 years ago, if I was asked this question, because that was when I was still like I was getting my start in playing in amateur leagues, I would have said, I guess things didn't work out for me as a player. But all jokes aside, it's real. It's a real great experience, because I kind of am, my career currently. I'm working in sports currently, as on the business side. So this is kind of like an extension of that. So it's a great experience. It's a great way to bring awareness and expand upon it and try to make the overall experience better for everybody.
And before we started, Dinsoff, you were talking about how you got to evaluate, some of these teams, making sure there's no Smurfs and whatnot. For you, how cool is it that you're part of that whole process that came together to put the 10 teams in the CCS, and you got to watch those teams play out?
It feels really good because like you look at each team and being like, well, I don't know how these are. It's kind of similar to like an early like power rankings. Like I can compare the teams myself on how I think they're gonna perform, and that helps me create a more competitive meta or a more competitive league because I can be like, oh, this team's not going to perform as well. So it feels really good to like be able to somewhat control uh the league in that kind of way, like I get to approve who and who doesn't play in our league.
And talking about watching that throughout, we got to watch a team, a very special team, the collective effort that played some flawless League of Legends, especially during the postseason, playing really well. And I got to talk with some of them, and they said that, you know, it felt cool to them that they won an amateur league, but it wasn't like your prototypical amateur league where it's like, oh, cool, you won an online league and there was no fanfare. They said it was pretty cool to see that they were streamed and that people are talking about them and during the postseason. What's it mean for you guys to know that you have players that have that feeling that they know that they're being watched, that they're on that spotlight?
That's something we definitely feel sets us apart. Like if you look at the bigger leagues, so like leagues that accept like 16 to 20 teams for their league, so like Blue Otter, for example, not every team's going to get streamed once. You know, that's something we set out to do, is to make sure that every team gets their moment on camera, every team gets their moment for that spotlight, for that big flashy play that can really catch people's attentions. Like even if we do only have the 50 peak viewers for a game, you know, 50 people got to watch that, and 50 people are going to be talking about that in the Discord later on. It might go on in trash talk, it might go on in gen chat, but like it makes those players feel great, and that's what we wanted to bring to the players.
Yeah, that's what it's really all about, is, building a sense of community with these players to where they're actually invested into the league. So, even if a team already lost in the playoffs or didn't make playoffs at all, that they care enough to talk about and then watch the playoffs to see who wins, talk about who they think are going to win or why so and so's overrated. It really just adds to the atmosphere of the overall league.
Silver, early on, before I officially joined you guys, one conversation I remember having with you was we talked about creating those characters, promoting the stars and having those storylines. So for you guys, how cool is it to watch that it went from, hey, we have 10 teams that, that play this game that we love, to you have players like Huff Zone that was everyone tuned in to see what he was doing. And you had Gregorio calling people out. You had Martial Arts for Y talking about his big ass forehead. You know, how did it feel for you guys to know that there was characters coming out of the woodwork and making this not just a amateur league that people were enjoying, but an amateur league that had personality?
Oh, I absolutely loved every second of it, because there's so many people out there that have have like personality or are funny, interesting, or very insightful, but are never really given a platform to do so. So really, with this, giving these players a platform to really express who they are, so people get to know them, people get to they just really get to know them, and just really builds a connection with everyone another that you don't normally get within a league, from my experience.
And Densoft, when you guys saw, I'm trying to remember. Oh, when you I don't know if you got a chance to, but did you see the trash talk between me crit you now and Huffstone?
Uh,
Is that the funniest moment for the CCS, or what was your what was their funniest moment for you?
Personally, my funniest moment is just anytime trash talk pops off. Like, it's not always the most pleasant place to be when it's popping off, but we do tend to be a little bit more lenient in the trash talk area, because it is, you know, you have to like voluntarily put yourself in there. So like if you're in there, you know, you're in there, you're gonna get mud slung at you, you know, get dirty, have fun. But like anytime, you know, watching it and it's just scroll, you can hardly read some of the messages sometimes. Like it was scrolling so hard. It's so funny watching that kind of stuff go down, and watching the players with the personality like beef at each other.
Silver, do you have a favorite funny moment this year?
When Me Crit You Now posted the Puff Zone cheater recall Mobalytics thing, I lost it. That was so damn funny. But no, there are a lot of moments, I can't name them all, that really stuck out to me, that really made me laugh. But it was just great seeing, these people, because like Densov said, we don't have a strict rule set on trash talk, but they also didn't cross the line or need to be told, "Hey, don't cross the line." So that's great too.
Yeah, I have two favorite moments. One of them is our good pal Hiccup having to give a eulogy and an apology to the collective effort because he thought PGO was going to stomp them. So that was one of my favorite moments, funny moments, just because he had to apologize, and especially since we had I think we had someone on the desk or on the podcast with us for that. But also, there was when we were making our predictions, I said, hey, if PGO wins, I think the collective effort are going to choose them. And everyone's like, nah, why would they choose them? And right before quarterfinals started, I get this message on Twitch. And I rarely look at my Twitch except whenever I'm watching streams. And I get this message and it says, check your DMs. And it's Filiberto telling me 100% that they were going to choose PGO. And this was before quarterfinals. They wanted to take on Huff Zone and them. And I thought that was just so funny because everyone was talking, oh, they're going to try to meet them in the finals or so on and so forth. It was just, to me, it was really funny to see the trash talking and the mind games that were being played during the playoffs. So going on to, overall, when you guys look back, how special was the collective effort for you guys as a team to watch them from the start to the finish?
It's crazy watching a team that dominant. I don't have their exact stats on hand, but I know they didn't lose that often. Just watching something like that is especially what as someone who looks at their rosters doesn't like see anything crazy. Like, hey, these guys definitely weren't smurfing. Like, so it's crazy to watch a unit dominate everyone else that hard.
Yeah.
Right. Go ahead.
Yeah, while Philly B wasn't a smurf, he was really smurfing on people throughout the year. That man was so dominant in the mid lane. He made everyone look like a chump. It was incredible. But that's not to say he didn't have any good players around him either, but he was really the heart and soul, and you could really see throughout a lot of the games where if it really was if Philly B doesn't have a gray screen, it's not over yet.
Yeah, we got to see some great games from him, especially on that Akali during the playoffs. I still get it's like a burned in my memory that double kill that he had under his own tower, like just still blows my mind. So, Silver, what role do you normally play?
I normally play mid.
All right, what is the worst mid pick you've ever seen, like faced up against?
Faced up against?
Like, not like, oh, I hate facing this champ, but like you lock in and the other enemy mid laner locks in, you're like, why would you ever choose that?
Oh, I think probably the most why would you ever lock that in was probably when Aphelios first came out, I went against him mid, and that was just absolutely atrocious. It's like this dude, like I get it. You want to play Aphelios because he just came out and he's one-shotting everyone with his ult. But I'm like, he is not meant for mid lane, and you're playing ranked, buddy. Like, no.
Wait, playing it ranked?
Oh, this was ranked.
Jeez.
This was. I don't remember when he came out, but I don't remember what elo I was.
Yeah, I'm a jungler support main. I'm a one-trick Soraka support, and I'm a one-trick Trundle jungler. And our good pal Hiccup is not with us right now, but he would get so mad, during the podcast because I talk about the one time, and I'm 1-0 on this champ. I'm 1-0 on Taric jungle, and he'll say, "Oh, Aaron, all the or Breakles, all the other lanes were winning." I'm like, "Listen,
but it's 1-0.
It's 1-0. I had like 5 kills on Taric."
That reminds me of a mid laner I used to coach. He kept telling me to pull out mid Taric, and I would always tell him no. So you saying Taric jungle really brought me back for a moment and kind of brought up some bad memories. But you know what? That's all right.
Those are good times.
Good is relative, but yeah.
I think there was at one point I was supposed to be. This was a ranked match. I was supposed to be support, and the guy that was supposed to play mid lane, I can't remember. Oh, he locked in like Leona or something. I'm like, at first I was like, "Are you playing like Leona mid for whatever reason?" And he's like, "No, I'm going support." Like he just forced it. And I'm like, "Well, I'm not going to dodge. I don't want to have to deal with that." So I went mid Soraka because I was already locked in. We won, but it was the hardest mid lane I've ever done because it was against a Zed. Uh, it was really scary. For you,
Yeah.
Dinsoft, what role do you play?
I mean AD.
Okay, so what's the worst ADC you've ever lined up against?
I wouldn't say like I've ever had like the worst AD, but like the one champ I just hate playing against is Sivir. Like she's just so annoying. Like her spell shield just always seems to be up. You know,
It just
it's
seems like people that are Sivir players are brain dead.
yeah. They don't know how to dodge skill shots, so they just
We're also looking at you, Flaydon.
Oh, I don't know if you guys heard that, but hiccuped.
Yep.
Oh gosh, yeah. Whenever I play, I always ban Nautilus or Blitzcrank if I'm in the bot lane. The one jungler I always ban Shaco because I play Trundle and I'm like, I am not dealing with Shaco this entire time. I hate him. Hate him as a champ. I mean, he's useful. I just hate him. So moving on to the pro scene. I know you guys are you guys avid Worlds watchers?
oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh, good, good. So let's get going on the play-ins. Now, obviously we didn't have all of our teams here at Worlds for this year just because of the current COVID situation. But for you guys, how cool was it to watch the play-ins and see a team like Detonation Focus Me make it to the main stage? First time for the Japanese region.
I was really excited for Detonation Focus Me. Um, in MSI they didn't have their full roster. Like their coach had to play. I do believe it was support because they were having visa issues with their support. So now that those are over, like they have their support. They have their full 5-man roster going into this. So it's I was really excited to see them be able to play and make it to groups, only to be slightly disappointed.
Yeah.
And for full disclosure, folks that are listening, we are recording this on Monday. So first day of the main stage happened, and Detonation Focus Me, unfortunately, had to face Faker. So
Happens to the best of us, but no. I thought Detonation Focused Me looked really good against other wild card regions. For the most part, I think it's great for them that they got to group stage for the first time. That's huge for League of Legends and huge, especially for Japan. But I think they almost kind of got a bit lucky. They faced a Cloud9 team that had just lost to 0-3 Unicorns of Love, and then won the tiebreaker. But all credit to them for getting the win. But I'm not too hot on the team even before today. But more to them for actually making it this far.
watching the play-ins, obviously, you had your teams like Hanwhan Life Esports and LNG and Cloud9 that made it. Detonation Focus Me was kind of a surprise because Beyond Gaming was viewed as that second team that would make it. But something that watching that kind of, I wouldn't say caught me off guard, but man, like all of the other regions are starting to raise their game, right? Except one. I don't know what it is, but the Unicorns of Love in their region have just been putting up stinkers left and right ever since, what, Albus Nox Luna? It just seems like their region hasn't been able to put up a good team recently.
Yeah, it's been kind of disappointing to see how the LCL has been progressing. I believe today they just announced that they, released all 5 of their starting rosters. So
Oh,
hopefully, hopefully that leads to better things in the future. But no, I actually thought Unicorns of Love going into it were of like the wild card teams, one of the favorites to get out, and then for them to really post a stinker was really shocking to me.
Yeah,
but yeah, go ahead,
uh,
Dinsoft.
I mean, just watching like one of the play-in favorites just completely fall apart like that is it's not something you see very often in League. So, I mean, it's just crazy. I hope they definitely can come back eventually and do better.
Yeah, I was very impressed with. I was very impressed though with teams like with LNG because Icon got to have like his moment to shine, right? I mean, he's been in the LPL for many years and other forms of League of Legends. So like to see him get his recognition, great. Uh, Chovy, Chovy just carries that team. I don't care what anyone else says. Chovy just carries them. But a team that I kind of have concerns over is Cloud9. Now, I am very much on the just please one of the teams from NA make it out of groups. That's all I want. But I don't see Cloud9 getting out. It just doesn't feel. And this goes to a point that I made one time talking with Hiccup is that there is something about chemistry that when you play with certain players as long as you do, you develop chemistry, you develop synergy with these people. For example, earlier in Cloud9's history, you had players like Sneaky and Meteos and High and Elimination in them, and they were consistently playing great. They weren't the best players in the league, right? But they had great chemistry. You look at Damwon Kia right now. Outside of the top laner, they're the same team that won the title last year, right? So when I look at Cloud9 now, oh, we're going to spend all this money and get players. I feel like they got rid of their identity. I feel like all you did was you threw a bunch of money at players and you bought players, but you didn't buy chemistry. So how do you guys feel about Cloud9's chances right now?
I don't like them at all. When you have Blabber as your jungler, I don't think you're really gonna do much on it. In my opinion, I personally don't like Blabber. But I mean, they like you said, they don't have the chemistry. None of their players can play or are consistent. Like either there's a few that are always playing bad at all points. Like it's just hard to win games when you can't get a lead at any point in the game.
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
sorry. Oh, I like the point you brought up of the synergy sort of thing and how the players work together. Because part of the reason I think Blabber was really really good last year was because he had Niski as his mid laner, and Niski is he's a mid laner who plays to enable his jungler and plays for his jungler. So he like Blabber's Blabber's the dog, the rabid dog, and he's got him on the leash. He's like, let's go, boy. But Perks now is just sort of like he's not that type of player. He's not playing for Blabber as much. So Blabber is just the rabid dog going in, and he doesn't have a handler to help him out. So I think that's really, really shown this year with Blabber. Especially at MSI having such a catastrophically bad performance.
Yeah, because when I watched Cloud9 when Blabber first came on, right? And, and the thing is, Blabber's a pretty good jungler. I mean, he won MVP one split, and you think about how they had Licorice in the top lane, you had Niski in the mid lane, like you actually had cohesive pieces. When I watch Licorice, what he reminds me of is kind of almost like a lesser version of like Impact and Someday. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm just saying like you can put him on that weak side and not worry, right? You
Mhm.
look at this team now, like sure, Fudge can have games where he pops off, or there's games where Fudge literally disappears. Or you have games where, wow, you have Sven in the bot lane, and then you have to sit there and really think, oh yeah, who's the support for Cloud9? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't feel like there's any synergy. Whereas you look at a team, like what 100 Thieves did, they brought majority of the players over from Golden Guardians, and they have great chemistry. Someday is a great top laner to mold with them, and also to another team in the NA, Team Liquid. You know, they brought up Tactical. They brought him along and built him. and they got a perfect support for him, Core JJ. That's like bringing on a great veteran and training up the rookie quarterback. And I felt like that was great, for them. So when I look at Cloud9, I just go, wow. To me, it's a bunch of wasted money that's not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah, no, I agree, except for you forget that closure 1v9 the finals in LCS. Like that was no contest. But yeah.
Full disclosure, I'm a 100 Thieves fan since the start. So I was, popping off on my couch watching that.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Nadeshots, and I love seeing that he finally accomplished something other than in Call of Duty. But yeah, it's crazy to see, the difference in not necessarily skill level, but performance of the different teams that have like this synergy versus what Cloud9 currently has, which is just a jumbled mess of nothing.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Looking at the other regions, we are seeing obviously kind of like a power struggle, right? As soon as Faker went down in 2017, you kind of had a fight of the LPL and the LCK. You had players like Doinby that arrived, and you had the players on Invictus Gaming that arrived. But there seems to be a player that has risen above the rest, and I'm not going to crown him as the greatest League of Legends player, because that obviously Faker is going to go down as the greatest. Until we see someone else do what he did, no one else will. But right now, I think the best player in the world, I would have to say Showmaker. Watching him destroy FPX this morning was ridiculous. How'd you guys feel about Showmaker's performance?
I actually thought Showmaker's adaptation with his LeBlanc going Longsword Conqueror was really smart. Cause what you did a lot of the time, if you were into Kassadin, you'd go Cull into that. But him going Conqueror and that really, because like Galio does really bad into auto attacks, and so if you're just empowering your auto attacks, it's so hard for him to play the game. And for all the money, Damwon with Canyon and Showmaker are by far the best mid jungle in the world. And just seeing them go to work, especially, like with Canyon having Yuumi as Trundle on him, it just was really, as an FPX fan, it was really hard to watch because they just absolutely destroyed them. Granted, I think Tian and Crisp, I think I can count on my hand how many skill shots they landed, but Damwon did a really good job at dismantling them.
You could have cut your hand off and you still would have more than what Chris did.
No kidding.
Just I was flabbergasted because I was like, oh, this is FPX. This is the team that won 2019. They're going up against the 2020 champs. This should be a banger. Nope. It was Damwon Gaming or Damwon Kia just saying, nah, we're not going to have any of this, fun that you want. Because they play very, honestly, it felt like poetry. It felt, soft at the start, just, building their lead and stuff. And then just started hitting them hard. That play where we watched Showmaker go, towards the top side and just weave his way through and start killing people off. I was like, that's ridiculous. That to me is peak League of Legends, when you have a player that is that mechanically in tuned with a champ like that. And so when I sit there and think about it, Group A, I mean, obviously Damwon's going to take Group A. Cloud9 might be at the bottom. They might be a dumpster fire at the bottom. You lose to Rogue, yeah, you're a dumpster fire. Yeah.
I wouldn't trash Rogue too much. They had a really bad end of summer split, but this team, I believe in both spring and summer, they're the #1 team going into playoffs. I just think they aren't great as the favorites. I think they do better as underdogs. And I'm sorry?
You know who also was a #1 seed that for North America playoffs and absolutely choked it like Rogue? Immortals. Never forget. And TSM this year. But Immortals in 2017 was definitely one of the biggest choke artists I've ever seen.
Oh, don't get me wrong. They definitely underperformed domestically when it came to that. But I think it could be more competitive than people think, knowing because I don't think anyone on Rogue is a bad player. I think they might have the best. They probably have the best bot lane in Group A. So there's potential for an upsets, but I still think it's FPX Dom1 who are
Oh
getting
yeah,
out of the group.
I think Rogue's going to be third, and it's going to be like 7 layers of like Earth and then Cloud9. That's just how I feel. Because I think when it comes to Worlds, you have to have chemistry. That's why Albus Nox Luna was such a great moment for fans because that was chemistry. They played well together. Rocks Tigers, they played well together. Even though they lost to Albus Nox Luna, it was great for League of Legends. All of our champs, it's always been chemistry. So when I see a team that has no chemistry, I don't have any like interest in watching them because I'm like, cool, Perk's got like a double kill. Too bad the rest of them got killed off, and now you guys lost Baron and the Dragon. That's how I feel. But now that we're starting already main event, the group stage, and kind of wrapping up, what is your guys' predictions on the groups? We'll start with Group A where you got Damwon, Kia, FPX, Rogue, and Cloud9. Silver, give me your predictions on 1 through 4.
Even though they got a good shellacking earlier this morning, I still have FPX making first out of the group. I think they're the best team in the world going into Worlds, and I still think Doinby is the best player in the world currently. This man can pull out so many pocket picks. He does whatever for the team. Not only that, I think his CS is only 0.5 behind Chovy, and he does all this roaming for his team too. And like, there's not a champion he can't play. It feels like, and he's just so versatile. He can engage. He can just carry. He does it all, and he makes it look so easy. Followed by them is Dom1. You know, I think they're the two favorite teams to win the entire thing, and it's just kind of sad that they both are in the same group because then one of them has to get second. And then I think after that will be Rogue. Like I just said, I think they'll put up some fights, maybe even take a game or two from FPX or Dom1, but I don't think they have a realistic shot of making it out. And then Cloud9 last, like you said, I think they're just so inconsistent. Synergy just does not seem to be there with everybody, and it just does not seem bright.
What about you, Densoft?
Yeah, I also have FPX taking the group. Like Silver said, they're one of the tournament favorites and one of the better teams in the entire world. So I mean, slipping up one time against the previous world champion, you can't fault them too hard. And then I have Damwon, no surprises there. If either of these two teams don't make it out, there's going to be some serious question marks towards that team. And then I also have Rogue because Cloud9's going to finish 0-6. They might they might take a game off of Rogue, maybe, but there's no way they're beating FPX or Damwon.
I agree with you guys, except that I have Damwon taking first, just because I very impressed with Showmaker and Canyon and them. Moving on to Group B, we got Edward Gaming, SKT1, 100 Thieves, and Detonation Focus Me. Now, my predictions for that group is I have Edward Gaming taking first. Then I have 100 Thieves taking second, SKT third, and DFM fourth.
Oh, we have a 100 Thieves fanboy in here.
You know what? I respect. Stick to your guns. I respect it.
Yeah, I stick to my guns. I started blasting, but the reason why I have 100 Thieves is because I feel as though Reapered is going to have a game plan for them. Edward Gaming is such a great team. We saw them dominate 100 Thieves this morning. But 100 Thieves also played their draft was pretty bad in terms of what they picked. I feel like Reaper is going to have a definite game plan for SKT because when you think about it, SKT is mostly faker, and then you have a bunch of players that haven't really won anything, right? So I definitely have that feeling that 100 Thieves could take, if they take 1 or 2 games
off of SKT, then they have a realistic shot at second place. What about you, Silver?
I agree, for the most part, except for the 100 Thieves angle. But EDG, Viper and Mako are the best bot lane in the world, and they are absolutely disgusting. They can play any style, any champions combination, and they will still win lane and just like make you look silly while doing it. They're so good. I think Scout, he's a player who's been a part of EDG for quite a while now, who gets kind of under the radar for a bit, and he's really come into form this past year. And then also their top laner, I think nobody really talks about Flandre as sort of, if I were to do a comparison, sort of like Impact, in where he really excels in this in the weak side top, but his mechanics are just so much better than that. So I think doesn't get talked about enough. Fun fact about SKT: when Faker won Season 3 World Championship, 3 of his teammates were 11 years old. So that just shows
Jeez.
Oh,
how
man.
long it's been and how long he's been there. It is incredible.
Gosh.
SKT, I really feel, is just like all 5 of those players are really, really good. But when they come together, it's less than the sum of their parts. It like at times it really looks like they aren't communicating with each other. Like it's almost like 5 solo queue players. But like that being said, they're still some of the best players in the world. I think their bot lane of Guma and Keria are probably the second best bot lane in the world. So really funny to see we have the 1 and 2 favorites in Group A to win in the same group, and then we have like the 2 best bot lanes in the world in the same group. And then followed by SKT finishing second. I have 100 Thieves in third. I don't see a world where they'll, do worse than DFM. Because I'm not hot on DFM. I would be shocked if they didn't go 0-6.
Well, Densov, we'll go to you after we've learned that Silver just hates NA. What's your picks on Group B?
One of the tournament favorites, Edward Gaming, is going to win this group. I mean, yeah, you can say FPX and Damwon are tournament favorites, but when you have the best bot lane in the game, like a bot lane that will win no matter what matchup you have, it's just hard to lose that game, And then I have SKT finishing second in groups. When you give me a roster and I can look at that roster and put each one of those players in the top 5 players in the world at their respective roles, it's hard not to say that they're gonna at least finish second. They look, when they play really well, as we saw today against DFM, they look very similar to what we saw in Season 3 SKT with Faker's first championship. They click, they dominate, but when they fall apart, when they don't have that look like they have that synergy, they look a lot like Cloud9, like hot garbage. So let's just hope that SKT can flip heads, for the rest of the tournament. And then I have 100 Thieves. Not much to say. Think they can beat SKT or Edward Gaming. They definitely won't go 0-6 because they're going to take 2 games off of DFM. They might take a game off of T1 depending on what SKT we get from SKT. And then, as high as I am on Detonation Focus Me, they really got unlucky with the group here. I don't see a light and day. They don't end up 4th here. It's really unfortunate.
All right, well, we moved to Group C, and obviously we got Fnatic, PSG Talon, RNG, and the last one is
Hanwha.
Chovy Life Esports.
Chovy Life Esports.
Chovy Life. This is like a crapshoot on who you choose, but I'm literally going RNG, Hanwha, or Chovy. Oh man, PSG is gonna beat Fnatic. Fnatic, I just don't like. I don't like. If there's a region I don't like, I really do not like the LEC. But that's just me.
I have RNG finishing first. It was a pretty easy decision for me. I just feel like I watched some of the LPL later in the LPL season, and it just seemed like they were playing really well from what I saw. Like I didn't get to watch the whole season, but from what I saw from RNG, they played really well. And then I have Hanwha because Chovy's just really good. I think Chovy can 1v9 Fnatic and PSG. And then I have Fnatic finishing third, honestly, just because I haven't seen PSG play, so I don't really know much about them. So it was more of like me knowing Fnatic versus me knowing PSG. So then I have PSG finishing fourth, obviously.
All right, Silver.
Yeah, if you had, so I think RNG's the clear favorite to win this group. I think a lot of teams forgot how good this team is because of their slow start in LPL following MSI. They came in, they won MSI, they come back. I think they started like 1-6 in series in the LPL. They looked really bad, but after that they turned it around. I think they finished the season like 7-1 in series, and they look back in form. They had the unfortunate series loss to LNG in the playoffs, which really tainted people's minds image of them again. I think they're a dark horse to win the entire tournament, and I think they have the best support in the world individually. In oh my god, I can't remember his name right now. Either way, but I think almost all their players on the team are world class. I think Xiaohu's the best top laner in the world. This dude, he can pull out mid lane champions for counters in top lane that we haven't seen. I mean, today he pulled out the Syndra into Kennen. You'll never see another top laner pull out Syndra into Kennen. The only player I worry about on that team is Cryan, their mid laner. I don't think he's that great, but he plays a very supportive style, which really enables his strong side laners. Now, if you had asked me 24 hours ago who's taking second place, I would have said Fnatic. But then with Upset not playing anymore, apparently, and then Whippo is having some controversies right now, supposedly, it's really tough to say who's going to. My money would be PSG now. I watched their finals in the summer. They looked about the same what you'd expect from when they're at MSI. Maybe slightly worse because they have Unified instead of Doggo. And then
Doggo.
yeah, Doggo, the darling of the play-ins. Third, I'd have Chovy Life Esports. Chovy's insane. This dude, like maybe the best mid laner in the world, and he just 1v9s that team. I think Morgan, their top laner, is a dirty inter. I can't stand watching him because I just know he's holding back Chovy. Willer, he's unremarkable. Deft is a shell of his former self, and Vista will just randomly run it down for no reason.
It's literally a 1v9.
Yeah, and then now, especially with in fourth, I have Fnatic now. Because I just with Upset being gone, that being his main carry, you have Bean, who's never played in Worlds, let alone with the roster like less than 24 hours notice before today, and now you have issues what maybe appear with Whippo. I think that team is just imploding right now.
All right, we moved to the last group, which we have Gen.G, Team Liquid, Mad Lions, and is it LNG?
Yes.
No. yes, LNG.
Yes.
So my predictions for this group is I actually think this is going to be. I actually think Team Liquid might take this group, and it's only because I feel like this meta really is going to play in the hand of Team Liquid, which is allow Tactical to play the way he plays. Don't when Tactical is forced to play like some of these not off meta, but some of these different like styles of ADC, he doesn't do as well. But when you put him on like things like the Callista, maybe the Misfortune or other champs that he feels that he can just work the angles Oh, he's one of the best in NA. I'm not going to say best of world, but one of the best in NA. And I think Team Liquid is going to, because obviously they beat Mad Lions this morning. I think they're gonna I think they're gonna take the group. And then second, I actually think it's going to be Gen G. Now, I'm only saying Mad Lions taking third is because I'm starting to see a trend though with Mad Lions is super hype, fall short of expectations. And that's what I'm currently seeing with Mad Lions. And then obviously last, I think it's going to be LNG, and it's not because LNG is bad. I just think that this group is a lot closer than the other groups.
Yeah, this
Man,
group is really close. I personally had Mad Lions taking the group. I thought they have really good synergy. I don't think any of their players are particularly standout, but when they all come together, they are an incredible team. Team fighting team oriented. Um, but then they took the L to Team Liquid today, which made me start second guessing that prediction a bit. Hopefully, for the sake of my pick'ems, they pick it back up. But wouldn't be. I wouldn't hate to see if Team Liquid ended up making it out of the group. In second place, I have LNG. I really don't think this team is as much of it's just Tarzan 1v9 than people really believe. Kind of like RNG, but to a lesser extent. I think 4 of the 5 players are pretty good to like world class. Like I think obviously Tarzan is one of, if not the best junglers in the world currently. Um, Icon, I think he's a bit shaky, but he's had performances where he's looked really good. Awandi, I think the support is a bit underrated in the fact that I think he does a great job in lane in both supporting Tarzan. And then the one I really want to talk about is Ale. If you remember Suning from last year, Bin, their top laner, he was a guy who was incredibly not talked about, but was incredibly gifted and just really good. And I think Ale is like this year's Bin. Not saying I think LNG will make finals, but I think a similar kind of where did this guy come from?
And who knows? I mean, Ben carried like that team made it to finals, and no one was really looking at them as like one of the top 2 teams in the world. So
Right,
for
right.
yeah, so yeah, continue Silver.
Yeah, then third place I have Team Liquid. I I don't think that I think they'd finish like 3-3 and force a tiebreaker sort of thing. I think this group is pretty competitive. I think Team Liquid, as we saw today, could take games off of any of these teams and even potentially, getting out of this group. I think they have the best top laner in the West in Alfari, and then best support in the West as well in CoreJJ. I think tactical, like you'd said earlier, I think this is a meta that's more suitable for him if you can play things like Kalista, MF, and Ezreal. And then the one I do worry about is Jensen. He did not have a particularly great year, and a year he was expected to take over the mantle for best mid in NA after Bjergsen retired. And this meta is not something that really suits him because, as we saw, it was a lot of TF, Ryze is pick ban, and then Galio, and I don't think he really excels on many of those champions. But LeBlanc has also been popping up a lot, so that's something he's comfortable on.
Maybe he'll get the Zillion.
Maybe he'll get the Zillion, that might work in some of these matchups depending. But then last I have Gen G. I do not like this team. Uh, it's just really disappointing because I think most of their players, except for Rascal, at one point or the other, you could say are like the top or one of the top players in their position in the world, and they just don't play like it. If you punch them in the mouth early, they just kind of curl up and die, and it's just really irritating to watch because these players are better than what they normally show. But then they stomped LNG today, so who knows? Maybe they've solved that.
All right, Densoft, give us your predictions to round us off.
man, it's crazy. We're all gonna have different group Ds here. I think LNG is gonna ride the high that they're on from the LPL playoffs. They beat
Alright.
they beat Suning, they beat Top Esports, they beat RNG. Like, who are these? It looked like it was Tarzan v the LPL. last or in the playoffs. Moving on to like currently, like I think they're just going to continue to ride the high that they're on and take the group. Second, I have Team Liquid. I love Team Liquid. I think they're going to make it out of groups. I think that they actually might have a chance to make it out of groups. Third, I have Gen G. I didn't watch much of the LCK this season, and I just don't like the Mad Lions, so I got to put Gen G over the Mad Lions, and then Mad Lions fourth.
Well, there we go. All right, well, folks, we're gonna wrap up, but you know, for the viewers at home, thank you guys for always I know it's not a lot yet, but it's always great to see that people tune in to watch the podcast. And I want to thank Densoft and Silver. Thank you guys so much for coming on and talking about the CCS, talking about the professional scene. Because it's really cool to hear. Because we do talk to players, but it's really also cool to hear from the staff side of things. And I appreciate you guys coming on.
Oh, no problem. This was a blast.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed coming on and having a good conversation about both the league and Worlds. It was a good time.
All right, well, folks, I'm Brankles. Thank you so much for tuning in to the CC Zone, and we'll catch you next time.